Most people are relatively transparent about their financial situation when they're in serious relationships with romantic partners. But these people discover their partners have been secretly wealthy the entire time, hiding millions or even billions in assets. 1. A woman discovered her boyfriend of 3 years was a billionaire after accidentally finding his bank statement. They'd been living together in a modest apartment, splitting rent 50-50. She found a letter from his financial advisor about quarterly earnings. The statement showed investment accounts worth over $2.4 billion. He'd been driving a 15-year-old Honda and shopping at thrift stores. She confronted him, and he admitted he was testing if she loved him for who he was. His family owned a multinational corporation he'd inherited. He'd been living on a self-imposed, normal person budget. She was furious he'd let her stress about money while he was a billionaire. He'd watched her work 2 jobs to save for their future together. She'd been eating ramen while he had billions in the bank. He claimed he wanted a partner who wasn't after his money. She felt deceived by the 3-year lie about his financial situation. His test of her character felt manipulative and dishonest. They broke up because she couldn't trust him after the deception. She later learned he'd done this with multiple previous girlfriends. His billionaire status was confirmed in business publications. The relationship ended despite her not caring about his money. His wealth test destroyed the genuine relationship they'd built. 2. A man discovered his wife of 10 years owned half of a major tech company. They'd met in college and married young, living frugally. She'd always said her family was comfortable, but nothing more. He found stock certificates while looking for tax documents. The shares were worth approximately $890 million. She'd been working a normal job and living on that salary alone. Her family's company had gone public 5 years into their marriage. She'd never mentioned the IPO or her sudden wealth increase. He was shocked she'd hidden hundreds of millions from him. They'd been budgeting carefully and saving for a house down payment. She'd let him stress about their retirement savings. He felt betrayed by a decade of financial deception. She explained she wanted their marriage based on love, not money. Her parents had insisted she keep the wealth secret initially. She'd continued the secret out of fear of changing their relationship. He struggled with feeling like a fool for penny pinching. They went to couples therapy to work through the betrayal. Eventually, he understood her fear, but wished she'd told him sooner. Their relationship survived, but required extensive rebuilding of trust. She finally started using her wealth to improve their quality of life. The secret had nearly destroyed their 10-year marriage. 3. A woman found out her modest boyfriend was a European duke with ancestral estates. They'd been dating for 2 years and he lived in a small apartment. He worked as a teacher, earning a modest salary. She discovered his real identity when his family visited unexpectedly. His mother arrived in a chauffeured car wearing jewels. His family owned castles, estates, and priceless art collections. He was in line to inherit titles and properties worth hundreds of millions. He'd moved to America to escape aristocratic expectations. He'd never mentioned being nobility or having vast family wealth. She'd met him at a coffee shop thinking he was a regular teacher. His family was trying to convince him to return to manage estates. He'd been living his normal life experiment for 5 years. She felt deceived about who he actually was fundamentally. His real life involved royal social obligations and historic properties. He admitted he'd fallen in love with her, but feared telling the truth. She had to decide if she wanted to be a duchess eventually. The relationship dynamic completely changed after the revelation. His family expected her to adapt to aristocratic life. She struggled with the fact that her boyfriend was essentially royalty. They eventually broke up because she wanted a simpler life. His hidden noble identity was too much deception to overcome. 4. A man discovered his girlfriend's family cabin was a $40 million estate. She described it as a small, rustic place in the mountains. He agreed to visit for a weekend, thinking it was a modest getaway. They drove up to a gated 200-acre property with a massive mansion. The cabin had 15 bedrooms, a private lake, and full-time staff. Her family owned multiple properties like this around the world. She'd dramatically downplayed her family's extreme wealth. He'd been planning budget-friendly dates to accommodate her student budget. She'd been complaining about being broke while her family owned estates. He learned her trust fund was worth approximately $50 million. She'd been pretending to struggle financially for their entire relationship. He felt humiliated by his attempts to treat her to affordable dinners. She claimed she wanted to be treated like a normal person. He realized every conversation about money had been based on lies. Her casual mention of the cabin had been deliberately misleading. The weekend became uncomfortable as he processed the deception. Her family's wealth included private jets and luxury vehicles. She'd watched him save money for their future while she was already rich. The relationship ended because he felt she'd been laughing at his efforts. Her hidden wealth felt like she'd been playing poverty cosplay. His trust in her was destroyed by the financial deception. 5. A woman discovered her husband owned the company he claimed to work for. They'd been married for 7 years and she thought he was middle management. She attended his company Christmas party and people treated him strangely. Employees kept calling him sir and seemed nervous around him. She overheard someone mention the owner and realized they meant her husband. He'd founded the company before they met and sold it for $200 million. He'd stayed on as CEO, but never told her he owned the entire company. She'd thought his nice salary meant they were comfortable but not wealthy. He'd been depositing his real income into secret accounts she didn't know about. Their joint accounts only showed his employee salary, not his ownership profits. She felt betrayed discovering he'd hidden hundreds of millions. He'd let her work and contribute to household expenses unnecessarily. She'd been proud of their dual-income household success. Learning he was secretly a multi-millionaire CEO destroyed that pride. He claimed he wanted a wife who loved him, not his money. She argued that hiding wealth after marriage was financial infidelity. They separated because the financial lies were too significant. The divorce revealed the full extent of his hidden assets. She received a substantial settlement, but the marriage was over. His test of her character after marriage felt like a betrayal. 6. A man found out his girlfriend's family owned the mall where he worked retail. They'd been dating for a year and bonded over both working retail jobs. She worked at a clothing store in the same mall as his store. He complained about the mall management and she always agreed sympathetically. One day her father visited and the entire mall staff acted differently. Security escorted her father and she greeted him casually. The mall manager bowed and scraped to her father obsequiously. He learned her family's real estate company owned 50 shopping centers. The mall he worked at was their smallest property. She'd been working retail as a character-building exercise her father required. Her trust fund was worth $30 million, but she'd never mentioned it. He'd been giving her dating advice about dealing with difficult retail customers. She'd pretended his job advice was helpful while her family owned his workplace. He felt humiliated that she'd never mentioned owning the mall. Their relationship was based on shared retail worker struggles that were fake for her. She claimed the job was teaching her about business from the ground up. He couldn't get past the fact that her family owned his employer. The power dynamic felt completely unequal and dishonest. They broke up because he felt like their connection was based on lies. She continued working retail while being worth tens of millions. 7. A woman discovered her boyfriend was heir to a pharmaceutical fortune worth billions. He'd always described his family as in medicine, which she assumed meant doctors. They'd been together for 4 years, living modestly in a shared apartment. She found a magazine article about America's richest families featuring his last name. His family's pharmaceutical company was worth over $8 billion. He stood to inherit approximately $400 million eventually. He'd been living on a small allowance his family provided for humility. She'd been paying more rent because her job paid better than his nonprofit work. He'd let her cover dates and expenses when he was between paychecks. She felt used when she realized he had access to unlimited family money. He'd watched her stress about student loans while sitting on a fortune. His family had offered to pay off his loans, but he'd refused for character building. She'd admired his independence, not knowing it was performative poverty. He claimed he wanted to be loved for himself, not his family name. She felt their entire relationship was built on a fundamental lie. His family's extreme wealth changed everything about who she thought he was. The revelation destroyed the trust and equality in their relationship. They broke up because she felt manipulated by his poverty performance. His inheritance was real, but their relationship couldn't survive the dishonesty. 8. A man found out his wife's inheritance was actually $600 million, not $50K like she'd said. They'd been married for 5 years when her grandmother passed away. She told him she inherited some money but downplayed the amount. He saw legal documents showing the real inheritance while she was showering. The grandmother had left her stocks, real estate, and cash worth over $600 million. His wife had lied about the amount by over 10,000%. She'd continued working her job and living normally afterward. He'd been planning their budget thinking they had an extra 50 kilos for emergencies. She'd been sitting on over $500 million for months. He confronted her and she admitted she didn't trust him with the information. She'd been testing whether he'd treat her differently. They'd been married for 5 years and she still didn't trust him. He felt their entire marriage was questioned by her test. She claimed she was protecting herself from gold diggers. He argued that they were already married, so the test made no sense. The dishonesty nearly destroyed their marriage. They went to therapy to address the trust issues. Eventually, they reconciled, but only after she explained her past experiences. Her previous boyfriends had changed completely when learning about her family wealth. She'd been terrified of losing him to money-induced personality changes. He understood but felt betrayed by months of active deception. Their marriage survived but required complete financial transparency going forward. 9. A woman discovered her boyfriend was a successful author writing under a pseudonym. He'd told her he was a struggling writer working on his first novel. She'd been supporting them both financially while he worked on his book. He'd been published for 8 years under a pen name. His books were international bestsellers, earning millions in royalties annually. She found his real passport with his pen name on book covers in a drawer. He'd been earning over $3 million per year while she worked 2 jobs. She'd been proud of supporting his artistic dreams. Learning he'd been a millionaire author the whole time felt like mockery. He'd let her sacrifice her savings to support his dream. His checking account had millions while she struggled to pay rent. He claimed he wanted a partner who loved him, not his success. She felt humiliated by her unnecessary sacrifices. He'd been watching her exhaust herself to support a lie. The revelation destroyed any affection she had for him. She moved out immediately after discovering the truth. He tried to explain his reasoning, but she wouldn't listen. His fear of gold diggers had made him a liar and user. She'd genuinely loved him, and he'd tested her cruelly. Their relationship ended with her feeling used and betrayed. His millions couldn't repair the damage his deception caused. 10. A man found out his wife inherited a vineyard worth $45 million from her uncle. She'd mentioned her uncle died but said he left her some wine bottles. He thought she'd inherited a small personal wine collection. Legal documents arrived showing she now owned a California vineyard estate. The property included hundreds of acres and a successful wine business. The vineyard's annual profits were over $3 million. She'd been pretending the inheritance was sentimental, not financial. He'd been working overtime to save for their future. She'd let him exhaust himself while sitting on tens of millions. He felt betrayed by her minimizing such a life-changing inheritance. They'd been discussing whether they could afford to have children. Her hidden vineyard could have made that decision stress-free. She claimed she wanted to see if money would change their relationship. He argued that hiding wealth within a marriage was wrong. They'd made financial decisions based on incomplete information. She'd been dishonest about their actual financial situation. The marriage was damaged by her lack of trust in him. They eventually divorced over the financial dishonesty. She kept the vineyard but lost her marriage. His trust was destroyed by her lies about their wealth. 11. A woman discovered her boyfriend's hobby day trading was actually earning him $10 million annually. He described it as something he did for fun with small amounts. She'd thought he was winning and losing a few $100s here and there. She found tax returns showing he'd earned $43 million over 4 years. His trading profits rivaled hedge fund manager salaries. He'd been living in a modest apartment to keep up the average guy persona. She'd been impressed by his frugality, not realizing it was an act. His investment accounts contained over $50 million. He'd let her pay for dinners because his day trading hobby had been slow. She'd been treating him when he had tens of millions sitting around. Learning the truth made every past interaction feel fake. He'd created an elaborate lie about his actual career and success. She felt stupid for believing his story about being between jobs. He claimed he wanted a girlfriend who wasn't attracted to wealth. She felt manipulated by his extensive deception. Their relationship ended because the lies were too fundamental. His millions couldn't buy back her trust. 12. A man found out his wife was a silent partner in a restaurant chain worth $100 million. She'd always said her family was in the restaurant business, which he took to mean they owned a diner. He discovered ownership papers showing she owned 40% of a national chain. Her share of the business was worth over $40 million. The restaurants were in 30 states and internationally. She'd been collecting millions in distributions annually. He'd thought they were struggling when she was actually wealthy. She'd let him worry about mortgage payments while she was worth tens of millions. He felt deceived by a decade of marriage based on financial lies. She explained her father had gifted her the stake, and she'd kept it quiet. She'd wanted their marriage to be about love, not business. He felt she'd treated him like an outsider in their own marriage. The financial deception felt like a betrayal of their partnership. They separated over the broken trust. Her hidden wealth had destroyed their honest communication. The marriage ended despite the money available to save it. 13. A woman discovered her boyfriend owned the apartment building they lived in plus 50 others. He told her he worked in property management, which was technically true. She thought he managed buildings for someone else. She found ownership documents showing his real estate portfolio worth $200 million. He owned commercial and residential properties across the city. Their rent money was going into his own accounts. He'd been charging her rent to live in his own building. She felt humiliated paying half the rent to her own boyfriend. He'd been testing if she was attracted to landlords or something. His explanation about wanting authenticity rang hollow. She'd been stressing about rent while dating her own landlord. The power imbalance was disturbing once revealed. Their relationship couldn't survive the deception. She moved out immediately after learning the truth. His property empire was impressive, but his dishonesty was unforgivable. 14. A man found out his girlfriend's art gallery job was actually ownership of the gallery chain. She said she worked at an art gallery doing sales. He assumed she was an employee earning commission. He attended an opening and heard someone call her the owner. She owned 15 art galleries in major cities internationally. Her business was worth approximately $60 million. She'd been pretending to be an employee at her own gallery. He'd been giving her job advice about dealing with bosses. She'd been the boss the entire time playing along. He felt ridiculous for his unsolicited workplace advice. She'd let him condescend about business while she owned the company. Her deception about her professional status felt disrespectful. The relationship ended over the fundamental dishonesty. Her millions couldn't repair his damaged pride. 15. A woman discovered her husband's antique hobby was actually a $30 million collection. He'd always said he liked old things and visited estate sales. She thought he was buying inexpensive vintage items. An insurance appraiser revealed his collection's true value. He owned rare furniture, paintings, and artifacts worth millions. Individual pieces in their home were worth hundreds of thousands. She'd been dusting million-dollar vases thinking they were reproductions. He'd been building wealth through collecting while hiding the values. She'd suggested selling things when money was tight, not knowing their worth. He'd refused, saying they had sentimental value, not multi-million-dollar value. The deception about their assets felt like financial infidelity. She'd been worried about money while surrounded by millions in art. Their marriage ended over his hidden antique fortune. His collection was auctioned in the divorce settlement. 16. A man found out his wife's cryptocurrency experiment was worth $500 million. She'd mentioned buying some Bitcoin years ago as a fun experiment. He'd thought she spent maybe a few $100s on it. She'd actually invested $50,000 in early Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Her crypto portfolio had grown to over $500 million. She'd been hodling while he worked overtime to pay bills. He'd been exhausted trying to provide while she sat on a fortune. She claimed she forgot about the investment until recently. He didn't believe that someone forgets about $500 million. The massive windfall had been hidden for years. She'd let him struggle unnecessarily. Their marriage couldn't survive the financial dishonesty. They divorced and fought over the crypto fortune. His trust was destroyed by her hidden wealth. 17. A woman discovered her boyfriend's family owned the hotel chain where they'd met. He'd been staying at the hotel and they'd connected at the bar. She thought he was a business traveler like other guests. His family actually owned the international luxury hotel brand. The company operated 200 hotels worldwide worth billions. He was heir to hundreds of millions in hotel assets. She'd been impressed he could afford to stay at the nice hotel. He'd been staying at his own family's property. Their entire origin story was based on a misunderstanding. He'd never corrected her assumption about his background. She felt their relationship started with deception. His family wealth changed everything about their dynamic. The revelation ended the relationship. His hotel empire couldn't buy her trust back. 18. A man found out his wife owned the publishing company that rejected his manuscript. He'd been trying to get his book published for years. She'd been supportive about his writing dreams. He learned she owned the publishing house he'd submitted to. She'd personally rejected his manuscript years before they met. She'd never mentioned owning a publishing company. Her business was worth $80 million. She'd let him experience rejection from her own company. He felt humiliated by the secret dynamic. Their marriage ended over the publishing deception. His book was never published, despite her ownership. 19. A woman discovered her boyfriend was heir to a casino fortune worth $2 billion. He'd said his family was in entertainment, vaguely. She assumed they owned a movie theater or something small. His family operated casinos in multiple states and countries. He stood to inherit over $400 million eventually. He'd been living modestly while being a gambling empire heir. She'd been budgeting carefully unnecessarily. His hidden fortune destroyed the relationship. They broke up over his dishonesty about wealth. 20. A man found out his wife inherited $100 million when her father died, but said it was $100K. She'd downplayed her inheritance by 3 orders of magnitude. He'd been proud they had a financial cushion. She'd actually received a fortune in stocks and real estate. Her lie about the amount felt like a betrayal. Their marriage ended over the financial deception. The divorce settlement revealed her true wealth. His trust was irreparably broken. 21. A woman discovered her boyfriend was a professional poker player worth $40 million. He'd said he played cards with friends occasionally. He was actually a world-famous poker champion. His tournament winnings exceeded $40 million over the years. She'd thought he was unemployed or underemployed. He'd been pretending to struggle financially. The revelation ended the relationship. His poker fortune came with too much deception. 22. A man found out his wife owned the pharmaceutical patents worth $150 million. She'd said she worked in research and development. She actually held valuable drug patents personally. Her royalties provided millions annually. He'd thought they were middle-class workers. She'd been wealthy the entire marriage. The dishonesty destroyed their relationship. They divorced over the hidden patents. 23. A woman discovered her boyfriend's trust fund was actually $800 million, not $80K like he said. He'd undersold his inheritance by 10,000 times. She'd been sympathetic about his modest trust. He was actually set for life with hundreds of millions. The massive lie ended the relationship. His wealth couldn't repair the damage. They broke up over his deception. 24. A man found out his wife was secretly a successful hedge fund manager worth $200 million. She'd claimed to work in finance generally. She actually managed billions for wealthy clients. Her personal net worth exceeded $200 million. He thought she had a regular finance job. She'd been incredibly successful while downplaying it. Their marriage ended over the career deception. Her hidden success felt like a betrayal. 25. A woman discovered her boyfriend owned the tech startup worth $1 billion that recently went public. He'd said he worked at a tech company. He'd actually founded it and taken it public. His shares were worth over $600 million. She'd thought he was a regular employee. He'd been a billionaire founder the whole time. The relationship ended over the lies. His billion-dollar company couldn't save the relationship. 26. A man found out his wife's family owned the cruise line they'd honeymooned on. She'd never mentioned her family's shipping empire. They owned multiple cruise and cargo ship companies. Her inheritance would be over $300 million. He'd been grateful they could afford the cruise. They'd actually been on her family's ship. The marriage ended over hidden wealth. Her shipping fortune came with too much deception. 27. A woman discovered her boyfriend was a silent film producer worth $90 million. He'd claimed to work freelance in entertainment. He'd actually produced multiple blockbuster movies. His production company was highly successful. She'd thought he struggled to find work. He'd been a major Hollywood player. The relationship ended over his lies. His movie fortune couldn't repair trust. 28. A man found out his wife owned the fashion brand worth $400 million. She'd said she worked in fashion design. She actually owned the international brand. Her company's valuation exceeded $400 million. He'd been proud of her job success. She'd been the owner the entire time. Their marriage ended over the deception. Her fashion empire couldn't save the marriage. 29. A woman discovered her boyfriend's family owned the sports team worth $3 billion. He'd never mentioned his family's ownership. They owned professional sports franchises. He was heir to hundreds of millions. She'd thought his family was regular wealthy. They were actually billionaires. The relationship ended over hidden wealth. His sports empire came with too much dishonesty. 30. A man found out his wife inherited the music catalog worth $250 million. She'd said her grandfather was a musician. He'd actually written dozens of hit songs. The royalties generated millions annually. She'd inherited the entire catalog. He'd thought it was a small inheritance. It was actually hundreds of millions. Their marriage ended over the lie. Her music fortune couldn't repair trust. 31. A woman discovered her boyfriend owned the software company worth $500 million. He'd claimed to be a software developer. He'd actually founded and owned the company. His business was worth $500 million. She'd thought he was a regular employee. He'd been the CEO the whole time. The relationship ended over deception. His software empire couldn't save it. 32. A man found out his wife's investment portfolio was worth $180 million, not $180K. She'd minimized her wealth by 1,000 times. He'd been impressed by her $180K savings. She actually had hundreds of millions invested. The massive lie destroyed the marriage. They divorced over financial dishonesty. Her fortune couldn't repair the damage. 33. A woman discovered her boyfriend was heir to an oil fortune worth $5 billion. He'd never mentioned his family's energy business. They owned oil fields and refineries internationally. He stood to inherit over $800 million. She'd thought he was just comfortable. He was actually a billionaire heir. The relationship ended over hidden wealth. His oil fortune came with too much deception. 34. A man found out his wife owned the private equity firm worth $300 million. She'd said she worked in investments. She actually owned the entire firm. Her personal wealth exceeded $300 million. He'd been proud of her career. She'd been the owner the whole time. Their marriage ended over the lies. Her equity empire couldn't save it. 35. A woman discovered her boyfriend's art collection was worth $120 million. He'd claimed to collect art as a hobby. His pieces were museum-quality masterworks. Individual paintings were worth tens of millions. She'd thought they were expensive, but not that expensive. He'd been hiding a 9-figure collection. The relationship ended over the deception. His art fortune couldn't repair trust. 36. A man found out his wife owned the medical device company worth $600 million. She'd said she worked in medical technology. She'd actually founded the company. Her ownership stake exceeded $600 million. He'd thought she was an engineer. She'd been the CEO the whole time. Their marriage ended over dishonesty. Her medical empire couldn't save the relationship. 37. A woman discovered her boyfriend was a venture capitalist worth $250 million. He'd claimed to help startups occasionally. He actually invested millions professionally. His successful exits made him wealthy. She'd thought he was between jobs. He'd been incredibly successful. The relationship ended over lies. His VC fortune came with deception. 38. A man found out his wife inherited the jewelry company worth $150 million. She'd never mentioned her family business. They'd founded a luxury jewelry brand. Her inheritance was worth hundreds of millions. He thought she had a small inheritance. It was actually a jewelry empire. Their marriage ended over the hidden wealth. Her jewelry fortune couldn't repair trust. 39. A woman discovered her boyfriend owned the data center company worth $400 million. He'd said he worked in IT. He'd actually built a massive hosting business. His company served major corporations. She'd thought he fixed computers. He owned the infrastructure. The relationship ended over deception. His tech empire couldn't save it. 40. A man found out his wife's cryptocurrency mining operation was worth $80 million. She'd said she was interested in crypto. She'd actually built a mining farm. Her operation generated millions annually. He'd thought it was a hobby. It was a massive business. Their marriage ended over the lies. Her mining fortune couldn't repair damage. 41. A woman discovered her boyfriend owned the beverage company worth $200 million. He'd claimed to work in product development. He'd actually founded the company. His brand was in stores nationally. She'd thought he was an employee. He'd been the owner. The relationship ended over dishonesty. His beverage empire came with deception. 42. A man found out his wife inherited the timberland worth $300 million. She'd said her family owned some land. They actually owned forests across multiple states. The timber rights were worth hundreds of millions. He thought it was recreational property. It was a massive commercial asset. Their marriage ended over the hidden wealth. Her timber fortune couldn't save it. 43. A woman discovered her boyfriend was heir to a construction empire worth $2 billion. He'd never mentioned his family's business. They built skyscrapers and infrastructure globally. He stood to inherit hundreds of millions. She thought his family was middle class. They were actually billionaires. The relationship ended over lies. His construction fortune came with deception. 44. A man found out his wife owned the cosmetics brand worth $500 million. She'd said she worked in beauty products. She'd actually founded the company. Her brand was internationally successful. He'd been proud of her job. She'd owned it the whole time. Their marriage ended over dishonesty. Her cosmetics empire couldn't repair trust. 45. And finally, a woman discovered her boyfriend of 5 years was the son of a reclusive billionaire worth $10 billion. He told her his parents were retired and lived quietly. She found a Forbes article listing him as heir to a massive fortune. His father had built a business empire worth over $10 billion. He stood to inherit approximately $2 billion eventually. He'd been living in a normal apartment and working a regular job by choice. She'd been splitting rent with someone worth billions. He'd watched her stress about student loans while sitting on a fortune. She'd been planning their budget future while he had unlimited resources. He claimed he wanted to be loved for himself, not his inheritance. She felt their entire 5-year relationship was based on deception. He'd built their life together on lies about his background. The revelation destroyed everything they'd created together. She couldn't forgive 5 years of financial dishonesty. They broke up despite her not wanting his money. His billions couldn't buy back her trust after years of lies. The relationship ended with her feeling she'd never really known him, proving that hidden wealth destroys relationships built on honesty, demonstrating that financial deception breaks trust between partners, and showing that testing a partner's love through lies usually backfires completely. These secret wealth stories prove that hiding money from romantic partners destroys relationships and trust fundamentally. What makes these cases particularly shocking is how long people maintained elaborate financial deceptions with partners they supposedly loved. The fundamental lesson is that financial honesty is crucial in relationships, and testing partners through deception usually ends badly. Subscribe if these secret wealth revelations shocked you, and maybe be honest about money with the people you claim to love.